Hi, there are two general categories for programming languages. One category is called imperative, the other is called declarative. Examples of imperative languages include Java and Python. So that's the first one, that's the second one. What distinguishes imperative languages is that it runs line by line. The order of the line is important, and the successful execution of each line is also important. Hence the word imperative. Let's imagine there are 5 lines of code and the execution reached this one. This means that this serves as a guarantee that the previous lines ran successfully and without any errors. So it's imperative. And what distinguishes this category of languages as well is that the state of the program is changed by the equality operator. Let's say we have price, or let's say total, and at first is 0, and then the customer buys something, it becomes 5. So now the state changed using the equality operator. Normally we think of the equality sign in math as an assertion of equality between both sides of the equation. In computation, the semantic is similar, but there is more focus on the idea of assignment. So at first the total wasn't 5 and then we made it 5. It's similar as in math, but the focus more on the idea of assigning and changing the state. So the equality operator distinguishes imperative languages, another to change the state. Another thing that distinguishes imperative is conditions, normally by using things like if, else. If the customer has loyalty card, we update their account, for example. So one is the equality operator, and then if, else, or any other similar conditions. So equality, conditions, and the guarantee that if execution reached a certain line, it serves as a guarantee that the previous lines ran correctly. And this feature makes the code predictable. So that's one category, imperative. And then we have declarative. Examples of declarative code is HTML and SQL. HTML is more on the front end, SQL is more on the back end. And what distinguishes this type of language is that it's more forgiving. So let's say in imperative, reaching this line is a guarantee. If there is an error here, the program breaks to guarantee the predictability and the integrity of the behavior. But then in declarative languages, oftentimes, as a general rule, it's as a general behavior, let's say, it's more forgiving. And if there is something wrong, the code doesn't break, but the behavior might not be as predictable as imperative languages. For example, in HTML, there is, like, for example, a code to define a title, for example, the title of a newspaper article, and it looks like this, for example, H1, header 1. And here there's like a headline or something like this, for example. And the underlying machine that runs this code understands the semantic of these things, of this code. But let's say we make an error, so we don't say H1, we say B1. This is a mistake, and the underlying machine will not understand it. But instead of throwing an error and stopping the execution, it will continue to execute and does what it needs to do to, for example, in this situation, to render a web page. But then the behavior will not be as predictable, will not be as guaranteed. So the title of the newspaper, of the article, will not appear as like a bolded headline. It will appear maybe like a regular text. So it's generally more forgiving, but then it doesn't have as much of a guarantee. So these are the main two categories of programming languages and code. One is imperative, the other is declarative. Thank you.